Guys, one of the things that I really, really, really didn't like about corporate America is the whole diversity and inclusion thing. Okay? Because they are forcing this nonsense down people's throat, right? They're forcing a certain ideology down people's throat in order to try to make the workplace more comfortable for minorities, right? And in my last job, right, I worked in a small office, right? Everybody in the office was white. I was the only black person. And they forced people to do these diversity and inclusion trainings. And they, I don't know, spent a lot of time really, really hammering this down, trying to make sure they're trying to be as less racist as possible. But to me, being the only black guy in the office, the only thing it really did was it just made me feel more uncomfortable. Okay, I was uncomfortable because there was a concerted effort to try to make the only black guy in the office feel comfortable and to make sure that they're not being racist. And to me personally, if somebody is racist, I'd rather them be overtly racist than to try to cover up racism, right? I'm not accusing anybody of being racist. I'm just saying I get uncomfortable trying to see people trying to hide who they really are and not be themselves because they want to make sure they're not stepping on anybody's toes. I really don't like that, right? One of the reasons why I can't deal with corporate America, the BS. Okay. Also, so Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola is one of these companies that's trying to go woke, right? As they have reportedly forced employees to try to be less white in a white fragility workshop. Again, this sounds very, very familiar to me. Outspoken critic of critical race theory and knitting community dissident, Karlyn Borysenko, shared an alleged whistleblower account from inside the Coca-Cola company. In a series of screenshots, she reveals that employees within the company are being required to try to be less white. Okay, that's interesting. Trying to make people be less white, right? Yeah, it sounds familiar. And as you can see here, let's take a look at some screenshots. Confronting racism, understanding what it means to be white, challenging what it means to be racist. To be less white is to be less oppressive, to be less arrogant, to be less certain, to be less defensive, to be less ignorant, to be more humble, listen, believe, break with apathy, break with white solidarity. That's funny because hold on now. Aren't a lot of people upset because they feel like the corporate world doesn't allow them to be black, right? Like, aren't a lot of black people upset because they feel like they can't, be a certain way or be themselves in the corporate world? They feel like the corporate world is telling them to be less black in a certain instance, right? And we all agree that's not okay, right? We all agree with that. But you mean to tell me it's okay for corporate America to explicitly tell white people to be less white, right? And then they associate whiteness with oppression, arrogance, certainty, defensiveness, ignorance, right? Not being humble. They're literally saying that white equals these characteristics. And you are classifying a whole group of people who have different personalities, different life experiences, different values growing up. You're trying to categorize people solely based off their skin color and assign traits to them solely based off their skin color. What does that sound like? To me, that sounds like racism, right? And I thought that we were trying to get away from racism. But see, me personally, guys, I know that race is just a circular conversation. It doesn't have a solution, right? It doesn't have a solution in my opinion, which is why I feel like it's really silly to keep having this conversation about race to go back and forth. But I know why they go back and forth with it, because it's profitable to have the race conversation. Okay, there are people making money selling these courses, and if they weren't pimping the race narrative, they wouldn't have anything to sell, right? Everything always points back to the money. Let's read a little bit more here. The images show an online employee training called Confronting Racism with Robin DiAngelo, which is a 49-minute webinar. The first slide Borysenko shared on, quote, Confronting Racism reads, understanding what it means to be white, challenging what it means to be racist. The next instructs that, quote, to be less white is to, quote, be less oppressive, be less arrogant, be less certain, be less defensive, be less ignorant, be more humble, listen, believe, speak with apathy, and finally to break with white solidarity, whatever the hell that means. The lesson continues saying, quote, in the U.S. and other Western nations, white people are socialized to feel that they are inherently superior because they are white. Research shows that age 3 to 4 children understand that it is better to be white. The final slide Borysenko shares reads simply, try to be less white. This course, Confronting Racism with Robin DiAngelo, is offered all over the place. It was offered as a LinkedIn Learning Course of the Week at the University of Montana in July. So as we can see here, guys, this course is being offered by Robin DiAngelo, who is an author who writes about this stuff for a living. Okay. And, you know, that what a career, right? Imagine, right? The country being so bad, country so racist that you can write about the dominant group who's supposed to be so racist. You can write about them being racist and make money off of it and have a bunch of white people agree with it, right? That's how racist this country is. The course is available for purchase on LinkedIn Learning and is described thusly. It is fair to say that America has spent its entire history in a difficult conversation about race. Of course, and it's going to continue to have the conversation because there's no solution. And around the world, nations everywhere have joined the discussion in recent decades. This has manifested a series of direct challenges to systemic racism and inequality that address the effects of white privilege, the relative immunity white people of European origin, enjoy relative to the challenges people of color face. And you can see the course here, as you can see the stuff they go through. In this course, Robin DiAngelo, the best-selling author of White Fragility, gives you the vocabulary and practices you need to start confronting racism and unconscious bias at the individual level and throughout your organization. There's no magic recipe for building an inclusive workplace. It's a process that needs to involve people of color and that needs to go for as long as your company's in business. But with these tools at your disposal, you'll be well on your way. Of course, with these tools that you provide, you'll be well on your way. It's not easy, not an easy answer, right? But, you know, if you just buy my book, you know, purchase my courses, you'll be on your way. A preview of the course showed DiAngelo talking about how bad it is to be white. It was released on June 25th, 2020, 1 month after George Floyd's death in police custody in Minneapolis, and is listed as having 20,000 learners. I bet that's not a quinky dink. DiAngelo charges speaking and session fees of $12,750 to $14,000 and has substantially increased her profile after Ford's death. She has made an estimate of $2 million from her best-selling book and owns 3 homes collectively worth more than $1.5 million. DiAngelo has provided training sessions and given speeches to a variety of major political organizations and corporations inside the Democratic Party House Caucus, which she addressed in June. Yeah, look at that, guys. Millions of dollars telling white folks how bad it is to be white. Now, let's take a look. Robin DiAngelo. Lo and behold, when we look up Robin DiAngelo, she's an academic who received a PhD in multicultural education. Again, this person's made $2 million, owns 3 homes, $1.5 million. White as she can be. Look at that. Look at that. That's the face of a person telling you how bad white supremacy is and white privilege is. Okay? She's made money off of this. And you know what's funny here is in her personal profile, she says, I grew up poor and white. While my class oppression has been relatively visible to me, my race privilege has not. Again, hold on. So you're saying that everybody experiences some sort of class oppression, right? Which I think most people agree with, right? Like, to me, the only privilege there is rich privilege. I mean, if you're wealthy, you probably privileged. But, you know, other than that, you know, you're probably not very privileged. You know, even if you're white, you're probably not that privileged if, you know, you growing up, you know, in a bad situation. Everybody experiences bad situations in life. In my efforts to uncover how race has shaped my life, I have gained deeper insight by placing race in the center of my analysis and asking how each of my other group locations have socialized me to collude with racism. In doing so, I have been able to address in greater depth my multiple locations and how they function together to hold racism in place. I now make the distinction that I grew up poor and white, for my experience of poverty would have been different had I not been white. Dude, poverty is poverty, man. If you're poor, you're poor. Okay? So, hey, man, this is what's being taught at work now, right? And quite honestly, I don't know when this is going to end, because it's not like people can just get up and quit their jobs, right? And give up their livelihoods because they're being taught to be woke. But I will say one thing. I am not a drinker of sodas, right? I don't drink carbonated beverages like that, but hey, I don't know if I'm gonna be drinking any Coca-Colas anytime soon. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.